All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this evening. We're super excited to have you here with us tonight. My name's Aileen Scardello. I am the manager of academics and industry relations with Aspen Dental Management Incorporated. For those of you who don't know, Aspen Dental is the largest branded dental support organization in North America. We have like 880 plus practices that are all dentist owned. Okay, so I basically am a built-in support team for Aspen Dental Management on the hygiene side. So that makes me fortunate enough to work with students and hygienists across 11 states, Missouri being one of them, and offer students and hygienists things like sponsorship. I offer career series events, CE, and sometimes just fun events. So that's kind of what I do for Aspen. I'm also a dental hygienist. I graduated back in 2003 here in Colorado. I live in Colorado. And we are really excited tonight because we are looking to hire a great hygienist for our awesome Columbia, Missouri team. And more exciting tonight, we have the owner of that practice, Dr. Brett Parrott, here with us tonight, along with Caitlin Hall, who is an Aspen dental hygienist, and our support system, our support team, Mackenzie, is on here with us as well. So we are here to answer all of your questions that you have. Nothing's off the table, guys. Please feel free to ask anything you want. We want you ask what you want to know about what it looks like to work at the Columbia office or what it looks like to be an Aspen dental hygienist. Please ask anything you want. We have a chat box down at the bottom of the screen there that you can use. I'll be monitoring that the entire hour here. They're anonymous questions, so no one sees anything, so don't worry about that. I've already had some questions come in, so I am prepared with questions already. I also have some questions I think that you might just want to know. And then anything that you want to ask the doctor and Caitlin and Mackenzie here, okay? So we're going to get started first with just having everybody introduce themselves. We'll get started with Dr. Parrott first. Dr. Parrott, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Brett Parrott. I am from St. Louis, Missouri, but I went to undergrad and dental school in Kansas City at UMKC. I graduated only 3 years ago, but upon graduation, I went straight into a lead doctor role. I didn't start owning the office until about a year in, and now the offices is crushing it. It's one of the best offices in probably the like 8 states around me.
That's awesome. That's great news. Thank you. All right, Caitlin, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Caitlin. I am the hygienist at Aspen Dental in Lawrence, Kansas. I'm originally from Tonganoxie, Kansas, which is a smaller town. And then I went to hygiene school at Manhattan Area Technical College in Manhattan, Kansas. And I just graduated in 2020. So Aspen is actually my first job as a hygienist. So I've been here about 10 months around there. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. How about you, Mackenzie?
All right, so my name is Mackenzie. Like she said, I graduated from Wichita State University in Kansas. I've been with Aspen for a couple of years, and I ended up getting a promotion here about almost a year ago now. So my title is Territory Manager of Hygiene Support. Ooh, if I could talk. So basically what I do is I go around to all these different offices that I oversee, and I help the hygienists with any clinical questions, just really anything that they're needing help with to try to get them to their full capacity of what they can do.
Great. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for the introductions. And Doc, how long did you say you owned the Columbia practice for?
Just almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a full owner. I do have a partner who bases himself out of Kansas City. So he doesn't come by too often because he owns like 6 coming on 7 practices. So he's a big practice owner.
Okay, so you're in the practice. You're in the Columbia
I
practice.
am there by the day to day, and I don't see me leaving there anytime soon.
Excellent. Do you have another doctor there working with you, or is it just you?
Well, I did have a full-time associate, but she unfortunately had to leave for family issues. She might be back, hopeful. But I am starting a new associate who's going to work just Mondays and Tuesdays. And then for she's going to start next week. Actually, I'm pretty excited about that.
Excellent. Okay, so could you just tell us how many people are in your team at the Columbia practice? How many people are there? How many people are on your team?
So currently I have 4 front office staff members, 2 PSRs, which is like the front desk receptionist. I have 1 AOM, so like the assistant office manager, and then 1 office manager in the front. I do currently have 1 hygienist. He graduated just a couple years ago, but he's been in Aspen ever since graduation. And then I also have about 6 dental assistants. And then, like I said, and then I have 1 lab tech and then 1 training lab tech as well.
Okay, great. And so you're looking for a second hygienist for a full-time position?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, great. And this is a question that someone had asked prior. Doctor, what made you want to work with Aspen Dental? What was it about Aspen?
I love the community. So whenever I first interviewed with Aspen, it just the people that I interviewed, I just trusted, I believed in, and they believed in me right off the bat. They gave me a career path that was beyond whatever I could have ever imagined, especially at my young age. Just now, like just still starting out in my career. And it was just a great environment, a great offer. I also loved loved the idea of living in Columbia, Missouri, because I grew up, although I grew up in St. Louis, I spent every single one of my weekends at the Lake of the Ozarks. And so now I'm only an hour away. So I spend almost every weekend there, and it's just makes the most sense for me.
Awesome. Actually, I was just about to ask you, like, what is exciting about Columbia that people would want to go there? You know, someone would want to be there. So the Ozarks.
So I love the Ozarks. Yeah, it's only an hour away, but Columbia is actually, even though it's considered rural, it's not really rural because I'm based only 2 miles from Mizzou. So MU campus, and so my patient base is actually really, really different than most Aspen offices. It's really young. We do a lot of prophies, we do a lot of ginges, over a lot of the more like the perio side of things, just because I have a younger patient base. But with that, I also get to do more aesthetic cases, Invisalign cases, things like that, and so it's pretty fun. I feel like I have the whole veterinarian school coming to me now at this point.
That's awesome. I think I'm going to go move to Columbia. It sounds so fun. Caitlin, how about you? What made you want to work with Aspen? Why did you choose Aspen?
So being a new grad, I was very nervous about being in the working world. So went on a lot of different interviews. I really liked that Aspen was very, very up to date with a lot of new technology. And then also they were very up to date with the new perio guidelines too. So as a hygienist, you know, you learn the perio guidelines. I learned the old and the new, but was hoping, you know, we would kind of stick with the new guidelines now. So a lot of offices, you know, like private practices aren't really up to date on that. So I was really thankful that that was incorporated. And then also many opportunities for the hygienist to kind of move up in the company and try different roles as well. Just because, you know, you get nervous as a hygienist with your body, you know, well, what if your hand starts hurting really bad, you know, carpal tunnel, different things like that. So just other opportunities for the company to kind of try different things basically. So I was very excited about that as well.
Yeah, excellent. And I'm a witness for that because my hands gave out on me, so I can't do hygiene. And here I am on the academic team with Aspen. There are lots of different career paths. We're going to talk about that in a little bit for sure. I wanted to know, Doc, for you choosing Aspen at all the nice things that you just said, which was very heartfelt. How do you feel that Aspen is different from like private practices or other DSOs? What sets Aspen apart for you?
So what the big thing was patient care. And this is kind of how I treat my hygienists in the office, is basically providers, basically equals to me. No one has ever come in and changed my treatment plan. No one's ever told me that, no, they need SRP or anything like that. Like I have the freedom to do what I want. I have the freedom to do whatever procedures that I want. And just really take ownership of my patient care, and I incorporate that with my hygienist as well. Kind of how I do business is I trust my hygienists as providers. I don't ever just go behind their backs and change their treatment plans. I've never once changed a treatment plan to something more than what they diagnosed. I've never gone from ginge to perio with if we're ever different, which is extraordinarily rare, we talk about it and we learn from each other, and I'm open to criticism just as much as I hope whoever works with me is as well.
Well, that's great news to hear because I know that as a hygienist myself, I worry about like collaborating with the dentist, right? Because I've been in that situation before, so it's awesome to hear that you actually do collaborate with your hygienist. And I've had dentists say to me, and maybe you have too, Caitlin and Mackenzie, where you think it's a SRP and they're like, just do a prophy on that. So you always have that tough conversation, right? So it's really nice, doctor, to hear that you know you collaborate with your hygienist. And I want to just dig into that just a little bit more. So once the hygienist does the full mouth probing at your practice and then comes and gets you to go in, right? What do you guys do? Do you meet in the hallway? Do you chat about it? Can you talk to me just a little bit, talk me through that just a little bit?
So when the day is running perfectly smooth, right? The ideal situation is
Like
happening.
every day?
Yeah, like every single day, like nothing ever goes wrong. The hygienist or the dental assistant that's in there entering the probing depths for the hygienist, which soon won't be a thing because I think we'll have automated systems where you just say the numbers out loud and it just automatically enters in. Super stoked for that new technology because the time you spend in those treatment plans will greatly go down. But they usually either the hygienist comes and gets me or they just have the dental assistant that was entering the treatment come and get me. I meet them in the room, and it's always best to do a face-to-face. We call it a handoff. And so that way they're describing everything that they've seen that they already talked to the patient about. So there's collaboration in front of the patient. They feel like part of their treatment plan of their mouth. And it works really, really well.
I think that's fantastic. Caitlin, I know you're not in Dr. Parrott's practice, but is that kind of what you're seeing being an Aspen dental hygienist? Are you seeing that same kind of collaboration with the dentist in your practice?
Yeah, we try to. Our dentist, we only have one dentist at ours for the most part, and so he's normally super, super busy. So I don't really. What'd you say?
Are you with Marina?
Partially. He's only there one day a week.
Oh, okay.
But we a lot of times use whiteboards to communicate, and so every room has their own whiteboard. So whatever room you're in, you kind of write down, the patient's chief complaint. You write down, kind of why they're there, what they're looking for, any information that you find. So I write down my perio diagnosis. I write down, 1 to 3 millimeters, probe depths, or different things like that. And then anything that I might have talked to the patient about, I write on there as well. And then when I go to give the board to doctor, anything else that I want to talk to him about, I just kind of chat with him super fast if he's with a patient, just kind of telling him anything else that I have that is kind of on my mind about the patient. And then he will go in there as soon as he's available.
Okay, so you also have a partnership with your doctor.
Yes.
Okay, that's fantastic. I love that collaboration. I think that's super important. Doc, there was a question that came in. What are the hours of your practice? What are your hours Monday through, what does it look like?
Practice won't necessarily be the hours of the hygienist. I'm pretty open with 2 hygienists in my future plans with opening the office in a lot of different ways for more patient care, access to care. Currently, right now, my hours are going to be 8 to 8 Mondays and Tuesdays, and then 8 to 5 Wednesdays, 8 to 3 on Fridays.
Lost you, Doc.
Sorry, am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Okay.
All right. So yeah, 8 to 8 Mondays and Tuesdays, 8 to 5 Wednesdays and Thursdays, 8 to 3 on Fridays, and then we always work 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. But the hygienists don't. I don't think they've ever worked a Saturday at my office. At least currently, that's not in the cards. And then my current hygienist only works. I think he's like 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday, or 8 to 6, maybe one of those days. and then he leaves at like 1 on Friday. So we still only keep you at that 40-hour max. Try and aim it at that 39 because of like huddle and things like that. So we usually start the day off at like 7:45.
Okay. And, I think it's nice what Aspen offers, which is access to care for patients. So it's nice for those patients to be able to come into that 8 o'clock appointment or at 7 o'clock, that 6 o'clock appointment. So I'm sure, Doc, that's what you're all about there, doing that for the patients. And I think that's super awesome. So they don't have to take that day off work. They don't have to miss that pay, all of that. So
We treat a lot of blue collar hour to hour workers, and so every hour they're not spent working, they're actually paying more for their dental care. So we try and really make it accessible. Also, with how many schools we're close to, we try and make it accessible for around their classes and things like that. So as far as a hygienist hours go, since I already have one hygienist and it would be 2 late nights, most likely one of them would work till like 8 on Mondays and the other one would work to 8 on Tuesdays and split it, because that's how I do it with my doctors as well. We split the late shift 1 and 1.
That's really nice. I think that kind of balances that out. So, and then you say really no Saturdays, not in the cards at any time
Not
soon
really
anyway.
for hygienists. We don't really have hygiene columns straight out. Now, if we're running into situations where we have hours and we do have a hygienist who would rather have a Monday off and work a Saturday, heck yeah, I'm down with that. But for the most part, I do the probings and I do the new patient exams for the hygienists on those Saturdays, and so they can enjoy their weekend.
Wow. Well, you sound like a really nice dentist to work for.
Oh God, we all have our days, right?
That's right. Okay, so I know that we had some questions about hygienists feeling like they're not valued. I know I felt that way. Probably you have, Mackenzie, probably you have, Caitlin. I don't care if it was been private practice or other corporate dentistry. I've been all over the gamut of this dental world. So and I know that sometimes I haven't felt valued, and I really feel that Aspen values their hygienists, not only by collaborating with the doctors, but in other ways as well. And I'm going to have everybody talk to that just a little bit. I want to start with you first, Doc. Would you say that your hygienist feels that you value him?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we're friends. Yeah. Anytime he does well, anytime he crushes out of the park in the end of the month, or he goes out of his way to numb a patient for me, I'm always very grateful, very thankful. I always and it's not just the hygienist. I do make a point at the end of the day to go and thank everybody before they leave and all that kind of good stuff. I make sure that everybody gets to lunches, even though I end up working through my lunch just so they can get there. I try and I try and make it known that I know that like they're appreciated, because it is so hard to replace. It is so much easier just to be kind and courteous and have everybody just enjoy their life while at work. Because it's not an easy job all the time. You're gonna have those Karens come in that chair, and it's nice to have support that believes in you. And so whenever you have a bad hour with them, I can hopefully make you laugh on the way out.
It's very, very nice that you value your entire team. I mean, not just the hygienist, but it sounds like everybody's valued at your practice. So that's pretty awesome. Caitlin, how about you? Do you feel valued as an Aspen dental hygienist?
I do, yes. So, doctor normally, like Doc was talking about, he normally trusts me to do all of the treatment planning. He's never once questioned anything. If he ever, had any kind of thought in his head, he would always come up to me and he'd be like, "Oh, like, can you educate me? Like, why did you do this, or why did you do this?" And I kind of helped educate him too on different perio guidelines for when, because he also perio charts on Saturdays too. And so I kind of helped him out as well, so he can kind of treatment plan correctly and kind of gets in the mindset of it. And then he also has a lot of gratitude too. Like, he always tells me thank you, like, because when he's super swamped, I go in and numb for him a lot of times, and he always tells me thank you. Like, he's always super appreciative of that. And then I also have a lot of autonomy to kind of run my own column as well, and kind of have my own, if I want an hour for a prophy, or if I need an hour and a half for this, or, different things like that. And so doctor's always super understanding with that as well.
Yeah, I know working in some practices in my career as well. Sometimes, it was either the manager or the office manager or somebody's to say, Aileen, do this and do it in this amount of time or, whatever. I never had that autonomy myself to, or that feeling of being valued. So I can definitely appreciate that, Caitlin. Mackenzie, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm actually not really clinical anymore, but I will say that when I did have a doctor in the office when I was clinical, it's actually the same practice owner as the one that Caitlin works for now. But I felt like, just like she said, she kind of took the words right out of my mouth. That just autonomy that you have with the doctor is unlike any other. I worked part-time just a little bit at a couple private practices, and I can't tell you the amount of times where it was they downgraded an SRP to a prophy, which just kind of killed me because in my mind and like in your hygienist mind, that's not what's doing right for the patient. Now they're going to be coming back every 6 months instead of every 3 months. And it just kind of puts you down a little bit because you're like, oh, I just want to provide this care and I feel like I'm not providing it accurately. And I just feel like with these doctors at Aspen, they're just so willing to work with you. They know, they give you the reins, they help you out, they let you kind of do your own thing, but they're also there as guide support. So if you really don't know if you need that collaboration, you can always work with those doctors and they're never going to tell you you're wrong or put you down. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me and why I chose Aspen and what I feel like we have that autonomy with everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love the autonomy factor. It's huge. Doc, specifically, what are you looking for in a hygienist?
Just somebody that's going to care as much as I do and work as hard as I do. I just want somebody to really not look at it as a job, look at it as a career, as Columbia, as like a home, and the team as a family. Just somebody that's going to go that extra mile, not only for the patients, but also for themselves. Somebody that's going to be interested and working as hard as they can so they can bonus and do other things and make more out of this job than just a job.
Great. I love that answer. That's awesome. Do you, Caitlin, answer me this, if you don't mind. We had a question about how many, and Doc, you can answer this as well. I'll start with Caitlin. How many patients does a hygienist see in a day? How many do you see in a day? I think there's some misconceptions sometimes, I've heard them and I'm just going to, bring it out here on the table, but there's some misconceptions, that, a hygienist that works for the Columbia office or an Aspen Dental practice has to like hit a particular quota, we have to sell a certain amount of things. Is there that pressure on you, Caitlin, that you have to meet these quotas?
No, not necessarily. So the amount of patients per day just kind of depends because obviously if you have an SRP there, then that's going to take an hour and a half to 2 hours. So that just kind of depends. So I would say maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, 4 or 5 in the afternoon, kind of just depending on how many prophies you have, different things like that. They don't have necessarily quotas, but there are set like goals that they have you try to achieve. But you're never penalized for not achieving these goals. If you don't achieve some of these goals, they kind of come and talk to you and they're like, well, what can we do to, like make this better? And, they work with you on different things. They're never going to penalize you. They're never going to criticize you, nothing like that. So, and Mackenzie's my boss. So she comes to me and she talks to me about different things. So she helps me meet these goals and, kind of talks to me, and Doc does too. He's like, well, what can we do, to improve this, or what can we do to, to change this? So not necessarily like quotas, but they just have goals set for you.
All right, Mackenzie, is that true? Are you cracking the whip on Caitlin?
Oh yeah, every day. No, I love Caitlin. But I think she did bring up a good point though. Like we do have these goals that we want you to reach, but I think another important part to bring up is it's not like commission based. So like if you exceed these goals and you go above and beyond, then you do receive a bonus as well, but it doesn't affect your hourly pay. Like you'll still get that no matter what. Whether you have cancellations, whether your schedule's full, whether you're meeting these goals or not. And I just think that's important to bring up because I know as a new hygienist, that was one of my biggest things. I was like, okay, but like, are there quotas? Because if we have to hit a certain amount and I don't hit them, am I going to be penalized in my pay? And like Caitlin said, we're not, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, doing the right thing by the patient and then getting, a little something on the side. I know in some practices, private practices that I've worked at, I worked my butt off doing everything right, really recognizing, that those SRPs and the infection in the mouth and doing everything right. And then every quarter I'd get like $100 or something ridiculous. So there's nothing wrong with, having that and being incentivized for doing what's right by the patient. So I agree with that 100%. And Dr. Parrott, how many people would you say your hygienist is seeing in a day?
I'd say that 4 to 5 is accurate as far as patients that you're seeing, but the number that's not in there is how many new patients, and that's going to change throughout the offices. Right now, my hygienist, and which is why I'm really looking to hire and support him, is kind of ran ragged. He is a little stressed. He is a little overworked. And but that wouldn't be the case when I have 2. So that's because the new patient count would get split, and so like, all right, you see this first new patient, then I'll see the second new patient, and vice versa. So you're not having to jump out of your room so many times. When you're the sole hygienist in an office that is seeing a 10 new patient average a day, it becomes very stressful. So what I've done to help him, which I'd like to get away from just because it's not as good for the patient, because they don't get to meet the hygienist firsthand, is if it's an 18-year-old, I don't have them go and see that new patient. Stay in your SRP, keep working. I'll do the probing depths. We already know it's pro for your ginge. I think you can trust the call that I'm about to make. It's either a bleeds or so. I'm trying to relieve that, but ideally we would get to the point where I don't have to do any of the hygiene, because it's better for the patient to know the person that's going to be taking care of them in all aspects of their treatment plan. So I would say 4 to 5 for the first half. Lunch 4 to 5 for a full day. Obviously less on the short days like Fridays and stuff. But then maybe like a 4 to 5 throughout the whole day of new patients that you would see as well.
Excellent. Yeah, like you said, once you get that second hygienist, it's really going to lighten up for both hygienists. Yeah. And everybody, what Dr. Parrott's talking about, I'll have Caitlin talk to it a little bit here, but it's a new patient exam. So something that Aspen offers as far as access to care to patients who don't have dental insurance is we actually offer free patient exams or reduced fees for people who don't have dental insurance, which is really, really nice because everybody gets an opportunity to find out what's going on in their mouth. So what happens is the patient will come in, the new patients come in, the dental assistant does, the hard charting, takes the FMX, the pano, the hygienist comes in, does the full mouth probing, then the doctor comes in and does the charting. So what he's saying is when the hygienist comes in to do that full mouth probing on those new patients, they're having to step out of their room. But Caitlin, I want you to talk to that because don't you find great times, and is it easy for you to step away from those, from your patients? Like, what do you numb them up and tell them just a minute? Talk to us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I was super nervous because I was kind of, coming out of school. I was very nervous that I'm going to have to, kind of pop out and balance my time. But it ended up working out really well. You find what works for you. So, you see your patient, you might, if it's an SRP, you might take their blood pressure, get them numb, tell them that you're going to let it soak in for about 10 minutes, and then you go and you see a new patient and you chart with a new patient and the assistant's there. So it goes pretty quick for the most part. And then you come back, your patient's numb and ready to go. So that kind of is what it looks like with a new patient. It's with anything, you just kind of have to adjust to it and see what works for you. Not all hygienists are going to be at the same point in the cleaning as you are. And so you just kind of have to find what works for you and pop out when you can, basically. I feel like you find your balance, definitely, because I feel like I'm at that point where I find my balance and I'm able to kind of pop out with these new patients and not feel like I'm stressed for time trying to finish my hygiene patients in my column.
Well, and one thing too, I think that's awesome about that part is, you get to do the probing. So, and like what Doc said earlier, you've talked to that patient, you've built that trust, you've built that rapport. Doc comes in, you're doing that full collaboration. It's not like, Doc's probing and sending them your way and, you're not seeing eye to eye. So I like the fact that, we get to go into that new patient exam and we get to do that probing and we get to build that relationship with those patients. So I agree with you 100%. Okay. Dr. Parrott, tell us what, and I can already feel the vibe here because I've been chatting with you this whole time, 30 minutes already, but what is the culture like in your office?
Well, it's pretty fun. We do a lot of joking around. We'll run around and um, put like stickers on each other's backs or just play little pranks or uh, they love hurricaning my Monster energy drinks on the daily, and so then
What
my
is
whole
that?
oh my god, you know the hurricane spray that numbs the back of the throat? Oh my god, it does it all the time and it drives me nuts. There's little pranks, little lighthearted stuff that goes on. We try to keep it as light as possible. I try and make every patient laugh. And you know my dental assistants don't laugh because they've heard the same joke over and over.
Oh, we lost.
So I was just saying, like, we just try and joke around and have a good time when we can, and work is hard, so we're not drowning when we're not, because that's always makes for a more stressful day as well. So it's kind of a work hard, play hard mentality in the office, and I love going to work.
I love that. It's fun to like to go to work, right? I mean, you got to be there 8 hours. You might as well enjoy it. So
You only have to be there 8 hours. I'm there. I live there. You know, like you know. I'm rarely at least at home today. So
that's nice. Well, we really appreciate you being here then. Caitlin, what kind of things does Aspen do? Or Mackenzie, I'll ask you this, Mackenzie. What kind of things does Aspen offices do as far as culture goes? Like, birthday party, like just what kind of things do we do?
So we actually just had a really fun event here a couple days ago, and Dr. Parrott was there as well. So he's the partnership that he's with another doctor, the doctor that owns a whole bunch of the other offices. What we did is we had a field day. And so we had a couple food trucks. We had like cornhole, water pong. There was no alcohol involved, but we had a bunch of just little events to get everybody together. So it was really nice because especially since COVID, we haven't been able to do that. And normally we do these events. So we have field days where we all get together. That way we can meet each other, hang out, and just kind of have some fun. And I think that's something that's really awesome with Aspen. I know when I was there the other day at the field day, I had so many people be like, oh my gosh, my old office never did this. Like, this is amazing. And it was just a really good time getting to meet everybody. So.
And you guys called it field day?
Yeah, it was field day.
Take you back to the 5th grade, the 6th grade. I love it. That's cute. That's a great idea. I know that we also do lots of things for the community as far as our culture goes. That's one thing I fell in love with about Aspen when I started with Aspen was the culture. We do the day of service for veterans. It's a free day for veterans. We do mission trips.
July.
What's that?
I think that's coming up in July. Day of service.
July. Are you doing it, Dr. Parrott?
Oh, of course. I love that day.
That's awesome. What a heartfelt day that is, right? We're offering, millions of dollars to veterans all across 43 states for the doctors who want to volunteer their practices. And if you're a hygienist and you want to join in, we're treating these veterans for free. Look what they've done for us. They've risked their lives. So that's the least we could do for them. So love that entire culture that Aspen gives back to the community. Okay, so a question that I had was, how do you handle, this is for Dr. Parrott, how do you handle conflict in your office?
So I mean, obviously that's going to be situational. Conflict between staff members, I usually bring them in with my office manager or just myself, depending on the situation. And we just have a conversation. I always try and get two sides of every story before I can really understand what's going on. But I'm a very calm person. I'm a very hyper person, but I'm a very calm person in conflict. I'm always I never yell. I never get angry, even though sometimes I feel like I should have. But it always goes over smooth, and the next day is always good. I've really not had too many conflicts ever with a hygienist because they're usually the more mature leaders in the office, just with the education and the fact that they view this as a career, not just a job. It's usually with the $15 an hour new dental assistants that don't know if they actually want this to be a lifelong career or not, and so they just don't take it as seriously. But I've never really had any conflicts with hygienists in years past.
Fantastic. I love that you have that soft skill. That's something you can't teach a lot of times. So it's wonderful when you find a doctor that, you know, has that ability. So that's wonderful to hear. And Doctor, and I'll ask you this too, Caitlin. Doctor, does a hygienist have to sign a contract, or Mackenzie, do they have to sign a contract to work for Aspen?
Nope, you don't, not at all. I haven't had a contract go through anywhere, so.
I'll take a contract.
He wants to work for us.
Yeah, you can give me a lifetime contract. You're mine forever. I will totally take that.
I think it's a good contract for the hygienist too. Caitlin, did you have to sign a contract when you started? You're on mute though, but
No, I did not. Sorry.
that's okay. All right. Yeah, I know that some hygienists out, they ask that a lot. So I wanted to get that out there, you know, because they do think that you have to sign a contract. Docs don't have to sign a contract either, right, Doc?
No. Not only is there no contract, but there's also no. There's an offer that kind of sets expectations and things like that. So there is if it's anything like the doctorate thing, there is something that you will sign, but it's not legally binding. If you wanted to, with Aspen, we pride ourselves on being this enjoyable company to work for, patient based, things like that. Something that you somewhere where you actually want to be, and with growth potential and guarantee probably the higher market pay. So there's really no point in locking you in, because the way I see it, if you don't want to work there, then you're not going to work hard. And so we don't really want you there. We want you to be able to treat patients in an enjoyable setting. But not only is it a non-contract, but there's also no non-compete. So if you wanted to live in Columbia and work in Columbia and you ended up not liking the Aspen vibe, you could work at Dr. Joe Schmo's right next to me, and there wouldn't be any repercussion because of it. My feelings would be very hurt, but there would be no repercussion for it.
Doc, that's a great point, the non-compete. That's a great point, because I have been in that situation before in my career. So that's great, a great point.
Yeah, I've known so many people that they say their parents live in Columbia, and so they really want to move back to Columbia, and then they join this office and they just got out of 2 years of hell and hygiene school, and they're like, all right, I'm going to work here at Aspen, and all of a sudden they actually are not Aspen or another company, and they don't actually want to work there anymore. But then they quit and try and find another job, and they realize, oh wait, I can't work in this city for 2 more years. Like, now I have to move away from my parents, or I'm stuck in this office. And that's just a really bad situation, especially if you're in a location where you want to live long term.
No, I agree. I think that's a fantastic point. And I love the fact that you said, you know, we work here because we want to work here. We don't work here, you know, because we're signed to, you know, a contract. So
no, you're going to do what's best for the patient if you're not having a good time either.
I agree. Caitlin, excuse me, Caitlin, what would you say is the most challenging aspect of being a hygienist, an Aspen hygienist?
Probably just balancing time. So yeah, just, you know, and I keep saying, you know, as a new grad, that's what I was so worried about, you know, because, you know, in hygiene school, and they'll know, like, you have to, you know, you have 2 hours with a patient, and that's multiple appointments. So you bring them back multiple times, and you have a lot of time to do things. But when you get back, you know, out into the real world, like, that's not the case. You know, you see multiple patients throughout the day. So just kind of learning just balancing time with the new patients. It does get busy sometimes if you have multiple new patients and they all want to show up that day. Then, you know, you really have to balance your time, and, you know, the assistants are always willing to help you. Doc's always willing to help you too. So, but yeah, I would just say, you know, adjusting to the busy schedule.
And I feel like that's in any practice. I mean, you know, we're always running around. I've always felt like I was busy, but you're right. I remember doing 3-hour SRPs, and then you get out of school and you're like, how am I going to do this in, you know, in an hour and a half? And hence, so we have Mackenzie here, this hygiene support team, who actually gets to come out and support the new hygienist. So if you're someone who is new right out of school, a new graduate, Mackenzie would come out and hang out with you and support you. Mackenzie, you want to talk to that just a little bit?
Yeah, so a lot of times what we have, and I think that's a good point to bring up too, is kind of the training process. So you're not just thrown to the wolves. Like right now I have Caitlin training one of my new hygienists. And so typically what they do is they go and train for 2 weeks with an actual Aspen hygienist. And they just kind of work through everything, do their modules online just to get to know a little bit more about Aspen and how we operate and to get that flow down like Caitlin was talking about. And then after those 2 weeks, they kind of acclimate into their new office. And so typically what I do is I always ask the hygienist that's training the other hygienist, like, hey, how are they doing? Do you think they're going to need a little bit more time for appointments? Just that way I have them set up for success when they do join the new office. And then what I do is I go in that week, typically for a couple days, and just kind of help them out, help them get acclimated to the office and make sure that things are running smoothly. If they need anything, I help them with it. And kind of the same thing with like supplies. A lot of times they get there, they're like, this isn't the same stuff I had. So I help them order supplies and get everything that they need to get them going on the right track.
So that you can all just go, whew, right? You have that training, you have that support, really nice. Doc, you had brought up something earlier that I wanted to touch on technology wise. Sounds like, you're going to be getting that voice activated perio. I don't know what it's called. I can't, my memory went blank on me, but what kind of technology is in your office? Like what could a hygienist that works for you expect to walk into as far as technology?
I have a CBCT because we're placing implants now. I'm actually now one of the top Invisalign providers. And so we do a lot with the iTero scanner. So a lot of your new patient exams, the dental assistant will scan that mouth, and then you will do a lot of the conversations, just like manipulating this like big screen, like kind of TV in front of them and showing them their mouths outside of their body, which really helps with treatment planning and understanding the case. But that technology is actually my old technology, even though it's pretty new. We're even upgrading that to something completely new. And this way with this new technology, I'll even be able to scan and no longer do Invisalign, but print 3D trays right there in my office, and I can start people in ortho like that same day. I'm really intrigued by all the new technology that Aspen has to offer, and anytime that something comes up and it's offered, it's probably going up in my office first.
I love it. I always tell hygienists, I go out temping sometimes, and I went to an office not too long ago and I was looking for the x-ray stuff. And like it was solution, it was dipping film in solution. So there's none of that here with Dr. Parrott's office. That's for sure. It sounds like. Great. Okay. Well, thanks for that. And then a question came in about COVID. So I know, thank God, COVID is almost over, right? Hopefully we're all getting back to normal. How did you manage your practice, Dr. Parrott, with COVID, and what's going on right now with it?
So we're finally getting back to more of a normal setting. When the pandemic actually did happen, hygienists, I think we're the first to go. I think, and that's every dental practice, whether it's Aspen or any private practice, because they were the number one most susceptible to get it. I was actually one of the first people to get COVID, at least documented in the state of Missouri, which really sucked. I think it was second doctor in all of Aspen. I'm young and healthy. This won't be a big deal. No, I had all the symptoms. It sucked really, really.
Oh my gosh.
But I went to a skeleton crew because I'm so surgical based. And so I was trying to stay, I worked and I stayed open. I was like, I already got it, can't get it again. And so I tried to just treat patients that if I didn't see them, they were going to end up in the ER and most likely get COVID. And so we were just doing four staff members at a time, but the hygienists were paid that entire time, I believe. Like we did more furloughing. I don't think anybody in Aspen was let go during the whole pandemic, which is good. So there's always job security there. But we're almost back to normal at this point. Cavitrons are going, and we have all the PPP that you would want. But I'm now getting to the point where it's like, if you don't want to wear a face shield, I'm not going to make you wear a face shield, kind of a deal. But it is optional, and if that is what you want to feel safe and secure, then that is totally fine with me.
Excellent. No, that's great. It's great to hear that, we're coming out of this, and I love that you're giving it optional to them, to a new hygienist in your practice. So you brought up a thought for me, not that this is a question from anybody, from my own curiosity on your downtime, the downtime. So you said that the hygienists were paid during the pandemic. So that's wonderful. What happens like if you take vacation? Does your hygienist have to take vacation with you, or do you pay them? Well, like, what does that look like in your office on downtime? Do you ever send them home?
My office doesn't close. Even if I have vacation, I have a partner. And so I'm excited. I'm going to Punta Cana next month for my 30th birthday. And
Yay.
I know that dirty 30. The owner's going to run the office. My office won't close. I'll always either have a temp doctor or another doctor in the office. No hours ever get cut. Regardless of if I take off or if the other hygienist takes off or anything like that. We always work through it, and so that no one gets negatively affected as far as paychecks are concerned.
Fantastic. Caitlin, have you ever been sent home?
No, I have never been sent home.
So you always got your pay.
Unless you got a temperature over 100, I'm not going to say.
That's the only time is when I walked in and my doctor was like, "You look horrible, leave." And I was like, "Okay, bye."
Get out of here. I don't want to.
And then you want to go home, right?
But you got paid, but you have paid sick days. So I mean, it is what it is.
And that brings up a great point right now, Doc. I did want to talk about the compensation for your practice. So Mackenzie, I'll let you talk a little bit about, you know, the sick time, the PTO, things like that. And then Doc, if you want to talk about with Mackenzie, what the compensation looks like for your practice. I know that you're doing some kind of sign-on stuff too, so it's exciting. So Mackenzie, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Doc looks a little confused, so he doesn't deal a ton with the hiring process. We are offering right now.
I just need a hygienist. Just take my money at this point. Like, help me. I was doing pro fees. Like, somebody just take my money.
No, but we are offering a $10,000 sign-on bonus for the Columbia office. And that would typically be the only time that you would sign like a contract, like we talked about earlier. It's not really legally binding, but just saying like, hey, we give you this, we'd like you to work here for at least like a year or two, type of thing. But as far as compensation goes, we work with you on an hourly rate. So anywhere where the area, because it's kind of different per office. Typically the Missouri area, there's a wage between around anywhere from 30 to 45, just kind of depends on your experience. And so we work with you on that, try to get you a fair level. That way you're happy with it. Because like Doc said, we want to keep you. We don't want you going anywhere else. We want to make sure that you stay. And then there is like a bonus structure as well. But like I said earlier, that's just kind of based upon your goals. And if you're over exceeding and doing phenomenal, then you're going to get compensated a little bit extra for that as well. As far as vacation time goes, typically you start out with about 2 weeks. For your first year, and after your first year, then you still have 2 weeks, but you also accrue some sick time too that you can use. So like right now I've been with the company for a couple of years and I think I have like 96 hours of sick time and vacation that I can use this year. So it does accrue really, really quickly. We also offer benefits like health insurance. You kind of have dental insurance, but it's really kind of just through Aspen. But then you also have 401k and they match you on that as well as disability. For example, like if you get pregnant or something like that, if you apply for it in time, you can get paid that way. So that way you're not having to go on FMLA the whole entire time without getting paid. So I think those are just some really nice benefits that Aspen offers that private practices typically don't have in the cards for you.
I'll take that a step further. As far as the contract base, because I just told you that I'm not locking you into my office. I know a little bit about what I'm offering, a little bit. So for instance, say it is a $10,000. Apparently that is what it is. Sure, take it. A $10,000 bonus. And say it's contracted for 2 years or something like that. And say you have to move for some, whether you want to quit or you have to move for some emergency reason or something like that, that is not going to mean that I'm going to go out and sue you. That just means that, can I have my $10,000 back? You know, like, so I'm giving you this as a promise that you're going to be my teammate for this amount of time, but that doesn't mean you're legally binded to work in my office. If you're gonna break our deal and break our handshake on the time for this extra amount of money to get you started outside of school and get you that house that you want a down payment on or whatever you want, so you're comfortable in the Columbia market, then just, if you're going to break that deal, then just break it in completion and just give me back what's mine. And then you go off and you be as successful as you want to be somewhere else. And that's kind of how that works. But I ain't
Well, I
suing
tell-
anybody afterwards.
No, heck no.
I tell you, my boss is going to be upset because I think I'm going to quit and I'm going to come to Columbia and work for you because $10,000
I'll
working
take
with
you as long as you get those trophies.
I mean, who can beat what you're offering here? That's awesome. So, all right. Listen, we only have 7 minutes left. I hope that everybody got everything answered. All the questions that you had. I think that I even learned a lot. So with Dr. Parrott's office, so very exciting stuff. I want to end this on a positive note, though. I want each one of you guys to tell me, and you could choose between this. What is your best experience that you've had working for Aspen or with Aspen? Or if you could choose one word, what's the best word that you would choose to describe Aspen? So I'll let who wants to go first?
Not me.
So guys got to think about it. Let's see.
I said, I guess I'll go.
All right. I was going to go, so go ahead.
I'm not great with descriptive words, so I'd say probably my favorite thing that I've done so far with working with Aspen, first off, is taking this position because I get to travel and see so many different things. But I think in the clinical world, I think the best part is just whenever anybody just gets that whole new smile, especially when they have all that wonky teeth, they get that Invisalign, it's so straight, or we do crowns on a bunch of the teeth and it just gives them their smile back. Even if we have to pull a bunch and they get dentures, it's just amazing. You'll get so many hugs from people crying, saying, thank you, I haven't smiled in years. And I think that's something that just really warms my heart and makes me realize why I do what I do.
Fantastic. How about you, Caitlin?
I
Got
say
a word or
this-
a story?
What'd you say?
A word or a story?
I'll probably do a story. So we've had, lately, honestly, we've had a lot of patients that are just so appreciative of the work that we do. And we had a patient buy us lunch last week. We have patients bring us in desserts. They bring us in gift cards, a bunch of different things, like anything that you can think of. And they just do that because they're just so appreciative of the work that we do. It's just always nice and rewarding to kind of randomly get that. And when that randomly occurs, you feel like you're making a difference. You feel like you're creating a happy and healthy smile for these patients. So I think that's been one of my favorite experiences, is kind of, partnering with the patient and that, and they just like give you, not that I like receiving those things, but it's just nice feeling appreciative. Definitely.
She just likes the free food.
Yeah, I just like fruit.
I don't blame you. I'm a foodie myself. I love free food. I'll go before you, Doc. I guess I'll pick a word so we can keep it short, but there's a few words that come to mind when I think about Aspen. Culture is a big one for me, but opportunity too. I mean, opportunity knocks with Aspen Dental. I feel like I've worked for lots of other different, like I told you, practices, DSOs, and I just feel that Aspen Dental has the best opportunities. You talked about it right when we started, Dr. Parrott. Look where you are now. Look where I am now. I mean, it's amazing that hygiene has evolved. There's lots of opportunities. I mean, even with Dr. Parrott's lead hygienist now, I mean, he's going to be mentoring you possibly if you come work for Dr. Parrott's office. So like that's just right there is an opportunity. So I love that word, opportunity, for Aspen, because I think that they offer the most opportunity that I've ever seen a company offer before. So that's mine. Okay, Dr. Parrott, you're on the spot.
All right, well, I'll do both. So I think the word that I would do would be family. Everybody that surrounds me and everybody that I've met in Aspen's always been so caring and supportive. And I feel like I could just call a person up that I met at one random event and just have a good conversation with at any point in time. So it's almost like you have this weird extended social media marketed family all over the place, and then this really, really close knit family that you see every single day. But probably the most would be, it takes a lot to make me emotional. And a couple years ago, I couldn't do that day of service. I forget why, but trust me, it had to be important because I really love that day. And so a vet came in and he didn't have a pot to piss in, and he needed a lot. He was sick. He had infection all over everywhere. And so I think his treatment plan he did not want full upper and lower dentures. He's like, I'll do an upper, but I want you to save these teeth. And I mean, there was nothing to him. So I pulled all of his uppers. I gave him an upper denture that looked gorgeous. Pulled the back ones on the bottom, and I spent the time to do these crazy huge restorations on all of his front 6 teeth. And I think it came out to like $22,000. And then in the end, I said, you owe me nothing. And it was pretty emotional for the both of us. So that was probably the biggest day for me.
That gave me the warm and fuzzies. I mean, seriously, that's huge. That's a lot of work that you did on him.
My back hurt.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a kind gesture that you did. Okay.
I had to make it up for a whole lost day.
I know, right? Exactly. Well, it's been super great hearing from you, Dr. Parrott, and hearing from you, Caitlin and Mackenzie. Thanks so much for joining us this evening and being such great panelists and answering all the hygienist questions. I'll be in touch with all of you, try to schedule some interviews with you. I know it's getting late this evening, but you'll be hearing from me. So thank you, everybody. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. You're welcome. Bye-bye.